What if your connection to the spirit world was closer than you think? What if your unique way of seeing the world is the key to connecting the two worlds? Welcome to a Sanctuary for the Soul podcast. Join us as we delve into the heart of spiritual development, from the practical guidance and mediumship to the best way to live a heart-based life.
We are here to facilitate healing, awaken your intuition, and help you navigate your path with confidence. Speaking from our own deep journeys, we've learned to experience the world and the spirit world with a unique sensitivity. This is our space to share that perspective with you. Let's explore the connection together.
Hello and welcome, Liz.
Hi, Andy. Welcome. Thanks for your retreat last week.
You are very welcome. Was it a satisfactory experience?
Yeah, it was more than satisfactory. It was fulfilling. It was delightful. It was funny. I met loads of wonderful new people and didn't work for a week.
And I hear that the trance tutor in particular was rather wonderful.
Yeah, the trance tutor, he seemed to know what he was talking about.
I've heard that. I hear very good things. Yeah, I hear very good things about him. So thank you. And for those that are just wondering, I am that trance tutor. Just saying, I am he. He is I. Now, choosing to go on that retreat, was it free will? Was it fate? Was it destiny? Or was it something else? Should we talk about free will, fate, and destiny? Shall we?
Yeah.
Shall we? Are we fated to speak about free will, fate, and destiny? Is
I
it our
think we
destiny
are.
to speak about it?
I think we are. I mean, for me, attending it was free will and
Yes.
destiny.
Destiny. Feels like there should be a song that involves the word destiny. Yeah, maybe we'll have to make one up. Maybe that's fated to happen. So let's start with, what do you want to start with?
Well, I think it's worth considering what fate is. Well, in terms of what we believe it is, and a lot of people that I see, actually, when I think about it, are coming for whether it's support or to attend a group or whatever it might be, because they want to stop following their fated direction in life, which is the idea, isn't it, that it's predetermined, that there's things in our lives that are predetermined by what we started life with, by our families, ancestors.
Okay. So give us an example then about, where fate is in action, in the average person's life.
So if you are brought up in a certain way,
Yeah.
let's take a challenging scenario. So say you're brought up in a way that creates a lot of fear and you feel undermined, or you don't feel celebrated or loved, any of those things,
Okay.
then in a way that's creating a way that we view the world. So we would then view the world through that lens of what happened early on, what we saw those around us doing, and then that starts to sit in our subconscious and direct our decisions. So, for example, if I didn't feel celebrated particularly for some reason as a child, then maybe as I grow up, I then make choices that are aligned with not being celebrated. So maybe I stay small in some way, or I don't choose to take that particular degree because I don't think it's possible.
Okay.
Whereas if we navigate those early beliefs and look at what is happening in the subconscious, then we can make choices and follow more of a destiny path.
So, in term to use like an analogy such as evolution, we could then say that is the equivalent of nature versus nurture. So, we are nurturing our psyche, our personality, our life according to the rules, the circumstances that we were experiencing in that time, and we can choose to navigate that in a positive way, in a neutral way, or a negative way. So
Mm.
we're going to nurture our adulthood by what we experience in our childhood. Is that right or
Yeah,
not?
yeah, and those that have gone before us. So the experiences we're having, I mean, everything from our environment, the belief system, the health, the habits, the routines, the career choices, the discussions, all of that's going to shape the what sits in our subconscious, in our awareness, in our beliefs about ourselves, isn't it? And it's going to naturally create that lens through which we look at life, and then we make choices. So yeah.
Yeah. So, say for example, if I'd always been taught that people from privileged backgrounds were looked down their noses at me, then I would expect that everyone I ever met from a privileged background were looking down their nose at me.
Yeah.
Whereas the fact is that I'd have to judge them on a person by person basis because
Mm.
they have their own free will to determine how they feel about me. And so, therefore, I'm fated by my cultural
Yeah.
or sociological background to have an opinion that is based on other people's opinions rather than my own lived experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So that path of transformation
Yeah.
or spiritual alchemy, or whatever you want to call it, is so important because it creates that opportunity to follow a destined path that isn't shrouded or positioned by all those beliefs and things that we've experienced that create that sort of sheltered view of what's possible.
Yeah, so I mean, to try and sort of summarize the definition then of destiny. So it seems like we could say destiny is viewed as a series of chosen actions in response to fated events so that you choose the path you take. So fate is someone has placed you on a path that only has one direction.
Yes.
Destiny is someone has placed you at the start of three different paths, for example, or 100 different paths, and you are destined to choose the path based upon your choices that takes you where you want. So, whereas fate is there's only one option,
Yeah.
destiny is there are multiple options because you have lots of choices.
Yeah. And yeah, so fate is that idea that it's inevitable this will happen because we started life in this way, or it's inevitable that this will happen because our parents said this, or whoever brought us up said that, or we were brought up in a certain environment.
Yeah.
And it's this idea that there's an inevitability to things, whereas actually it's like thinking outside the box, isn't it? That there's possibilities by just making some different decisions to follow a more destined path.
So it's almost like if we're not careful, we can we can become maybe, I don't know, brainwashed in some way to say that what we expect to be our life path will become our life path, and therefore we don't really have a choice but to just kind of roll with the punches. Whereas what you're saying is, well, we all have equal opportunity realistically.
Yeah.
There are some who have more opportunities than others, but we all have the same potential. So obviously, there's lots of stories of people, having that classic, rags to riches, background, and we could say, well, that person was the same as, the next person in the class, but they chose to make decisions to maybe ponder, whether it was possible to make a computer that was affordable, for the average person. And, lo and behold, Apple is formed, and, the rest is history. Or they could be the person that said, that's impossible. No one will ever be able to, afford that as a general, purchase. And therefore they would dismiss the idea as like fantasy. So one person takes that choice to make a decision that will change his life forever. And
Yeah.
the other person says, oh, I just didn't see it coming. I guess it's like remember there was a promoter back in the 60s who said that the Beatles will never amount to anything. And he
Yeah.
refused to take them on as an act. And then the guy that
Yeah.
did do it, he's probably really glad that he said yes.
Yeah.
So both faced with the same scenario, but both had made different decisions with drastically different outcomes.
Yeah. So there's going to be certain variables that encourage us to follow more of a destined path than a fated
Okay.
path.
Such as,
Fear, need for certainty, thinking outside of the box, having a way of actually starting to view things differently.
yeah,
Because fear is the number one reason that we'll stay in a certain place for an extended length of time, or not take a chance, or find the courage, or so overcoming fear and overcoming the need for certainty are really the key variables for choosing a more destined path.
yeah. I think we don't like uncertainty. I think as a a race of beings, humans, we like we do like to know what is around the next corner.
Yeah,
So
you
some
like
people,
to know when your next cake is coming.
yeah, sometimes it's just a nice surprise. Um, yeah, so I can see that. So there are those that say, well, I'd like to go on the adventure of a lifetime, but I'm going to plan it for a couple of years to make sure I know, where I'm going to go from one place to
Yes.
another, how long I'll be there, what it will cost, what I'll see, and they'll plan it to the, eighth degree. And there are those that say, well, I'm just going to pack a rucksack, and I think I'll leave tomorrow and just see where the fancy takes me.
Yeah.
Um, so both of those people are making the same decision, but one is leaving it open to um, complete, destiny. They're just going to leave it up to, right, let's just see what happens. And the other person is saying, well, let's plan it according to what most people might like to do, where there's a control and there's certainty. Whereas the other person is saying, this is just going to be great. I wonder what will happen.
Where do you sit in that?
I would I would say I'd be more likely to be the person that would worry about where to go, what to do, how scary it might be, whether I'll get robbed or, what the food will be like. I'll worry about all of those things, constantly. And thinking that maybe I'll never eat because I'm not going to eat anything that doesn't look familiar. So I might limit myself basically to like Northern Europe,
Yeah.
and then I'll worry that I can't speak the same language, so I'll probably end up in Britain. Right? And then it'll be too cold and wet, so I'll rule out Ireland, Wales, and Scotland and Northern England. So I'll probably end up going on like a trip of a lifetime as far as like Nottingham and not Nottingham and Cornwall,
Oh no, you
and then back
wouldn't.
home.
I think you would. I think you would go a little bit further.
No, I
I
would.
think that's more to do with you liking your home comforts.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, but I think I wouldn't be quite that bad. But you can see what I mean when you start to think about it too much. You think, well, actually, maybe I'll just stay at home. It's just a lot easier.
Yeah, but I think that's also getting into the realms of personality, because for me, I would be similar. I would be similar to you, but that's because it's to do with travel. But give me another conundrum in life and I would probably just leap off and go for it. Do you see what I mean? So I think it probably depends what the subject of choice is.
Yeah.
And I think that's, going to impact whether you have less fear and more courage.
So yeah, I can kind of see that. I mean, look at your sort of career path. When you were at college, where you started, what your path was going to be. You were looking at something very different to like transpersonal personal psychology, weren't you? So do you see what I mean? So you were looking at one proposition, and then you took a very different path. And you could have been scared by it, but you obviously grabbed the bull by the horns,
Well,
and you ended up with
yeah.
three degrees or 2 degrees and a doctorate. I mean, that's not
Well,
exactly like chance, is it?
but I hadn't thought about that, Andy, because that's a really good example, because I had a really difficult time, and the difficult time resulted in me failing my A levels. Well, I can't just blame it on the difficult time. I also didn't put the effort in, but I think that was because I was, all over the place. And so I came out with 3 E's and was supposed to, I was hoping to go to university, but obviously couldn't because I'd done so badly. And so, yeah, I took another course, and just suddenly realised that that isn't what I wanted, and asked the psychology teacher to help me. And he wrote to the university and said Liz was due to get a B in psychology, and gave some evidence. And they said, the university said that if I did okay in the first year, I could stay on. I mean, I don't really hear of that happening very often, but it was about taking a risk and just, yeah,
Yeah.
asking for help.
Yeah, I guess you did, didn't you? You asked for help, and someone was there to support you in that moment, and you then decided to kick on from there.
Yeah. I mean, most people, I think, would have had to retake A levels, but I was so adamant that I couldn't bear to do that, that I just had
So
to
like
find.
just get her a space in the university. Let's get her off the books.
He probably couldn't bear teaching me again.
It's like no, not another year or two. No, no. Can't be doing it.
But that is joking apart. That's a really good example. I hadn't thought about that, of the fate and destiny. Yeah.
Because you were fated to drop out.
Yeah. Oh,
Realistically,
massively.
that was it. You were fated to drop out. You hadn't put the effort in. Circumstances had taken you to where you were. So your fate was you kind of fall on the sword of underachieving. However, you then changed your own destiny by saying, I am going to not do this again. I'm going to put that effort in. And not only did you get your degree, you then got a master's, you then got a doctorate.
Yeah, I went the whole.
If that is, I mean, when you get your professorship, then you can really say that you got the whole bag.
No chance.
But joking aside, though, the degree of effort that would have had to go in, you don't get given a degree, you don't get given a master's, and you certainly don't get
Definitely
given a
not.
doctorate. I mean, that's peer reviewed, and that's people questioning you on your understanding, and that doesn't happen by chance, does it? So,
Well, no.
fate and destiny were active participants within your life in that, say, 7-8 years.
That's just reminded me though, because I met I met Fate again during my PhD Viva because they failed it the first time round, and I had a choice to just walk away or to sort my anxiety out around, going back in there and sort of fighting for what I believed in. And I did choose to go back in and retake it. So there was another junction actually where I could have experienced the fate of failure. And so yeah, I had to overcome it again actually.
So it is an example really of you know what happens when you're pushed into a position of I don't know whether we'd say it's vulnerability, a position of uncertainty, and
Yeah.
is the desire to achieve greater than the pull to say enough is enough. And on both of those occasions, obviously, you thought the desire to achieve was greater than the pull to say, "Oh, I can't be bothered." You
Yeah.
know, that could have
I
been a 50-50 flick of the coin.
yeah. I think it's that part of me that's like, this is not getting the better of me.
Yeah, stubbornness.
And what about you in terms of a juncture of fate and destiny? I'm reminded about your choice to leave the army.
Yeah, that one came to mind for me as well. So to give some context, when I moved from the UK to Germany, I went to my first regiment, and I was doing a job. Kind of broadly speaking, think of logistics and the need for parts and equipment, but think of it on an army scale. Country to country, or let's say Germany to Iraq, or something like that. And within 6 or 9 months of getting to my first regiment, I then got selected for promotion, which was obscenely quick. I mean, they said if you got that in 2 years, you were doing really well. And I got that in 9 months, and got like, I think the penultimate highest grade it was possible to get. And not long after that, I signed off, which means I gave them notice to say I was going to leave 1 year later. And they were open mouthed, and they said, "You are mad. What are you doing?" They said, "No one gets selected for a promotion that quickly, and you have. And all you've got to do is do like the course to give you the official kind of ability to take the next rank." And it was purely based on gut feeling. I left for no other reason than gut feeling. Everything that was logical said, "Stay in. You're going to be earning more money. You're going to have rank. You're going to have a little bit more power." And then not long after that, you do your job for a little while, and another promotion will come along. Maybe go to live and work somewhere different. And I had a dream, like Martin Luther King. I had a dream, but anyway, the dream was like a foreboding dream. All right. So the first Gulf War had been and gone. The second Gulf War hadn't started, and there was no sign of it starting. It was just things were how they were. And I had a dream, or like a premonition, where I felt a real sense of fear, and I was in the desert. All right, there was this desert environment just playing over in my head, and it gave me a you know a sense of foreboding. So I handed in my notice and said I'm going to leave, like in 12 months' time minus time for relocation and annual leave. And so, like I say, they were gobsmacked and said, "You're mad." But I stuck with it. Then I left in February the 2003, and so came back to Norfolk, and I think only in about the April, so it was really soon afterwards, April, May time, I got a letter from the army saying you're on the short term reserve list, because I'd literally just left the army, and they asked me to come back and do some what they call familiarization training, which is basically getting your eye back in, practicing your rifle skills, and 6 weeks training, and then I was going to get posted to Iraq or somewhere like that. So anyway, the second Gulf War then started, and I failed the eyesight test, and so I couldn't. So they said, unfortunately, you failed, and so that was it, and I never heard anymore. But there was a gentleman when I originally joined the army. I joined to be a Royal Military Police man, and then again I got really good, really good results. When you first join the army, you have to do something called a barb test, which is
Oh, yeah.
your ability to think quickly, answer the questions correctly, and the quicker you do it and the more questions you get right, the more they open out for you options. And anyway, without blowing my own trumpet, I could then join any part of the army. The top two scoring were the intelligence corps and the Royal Military Police, and I decided to go against all of my family and join the Royal Military Police, which went down like a fart in a lift. All right, because they are not liked. All right, so anyway, I go to Chichester, to do my trade training, to learn what it is to learn legal definitions and all that sort of stuff. And anyway, the guy who was the staff sergeant, who was in charge of our platoon, he was a really tough guy. I mean, really hard. You wouldn't have messed with him. And he was from Wallsend up in Durham. Anyway, so he was an intimidating guy, big, like a granite chin, and you did as you were told. All right, he had that air about him. Anyway, fast forward to the I think it was the second Gulf War, and he had then been promoted a couple of times subsequently, and there was an occasion whereby a mob with, I think, AK-47s, which is a rifle, and they stormed the police station that he was based at, and he lost his life. So he was murdered. Anyway, so I really feel that for some reason, let's just say spirit, because obviously now I'm a medium, I really feel that my intuition and my maybe my spirit friends guided me away from staying in the army, because logic said stay because it's lucrative and you're going to get promoted, and my intuition and nothing more than that said to me, you need to leave, there's something dangerous. And I trusted that. And then military police are very, very small part of the army, and so there is a high chance that I could have been posted to that same place, and maybe I would have lost my life. Obviously, I'll never know. But I trusted. I used my free will. That was it. Intuition and free will. That's what I think saved me.
And I think there's a really nice link there between that idea of just listening to you there about when we when we do allow ourselves to trust that intuition, that knowing, or that connection to the spirit world,
Yeah.
it helps overcome some of those fears, doesn't it, or need for certainty, because it's like could easily get pulled into the fear of, well, if you leave, you won't have that opportunity again, or whatever
Yeah.
they might have been. But instead of going into that fear and need for certainty, you trusted your knowing, your intuition, your what was impressed upon you more. And
Yeah.
that's a really valuable thing to remember, actually, when
Well,
when we
you
need
know,
that.
that mindset of trusting my intuition. I mean, that was impressed upon me from a young age.
Yeah, that's so good.
My mum especially would say, "Let son always trust your gut," and I did. And that is a natural way of me being. I don't think they made me be like that, but I think they emphasised the importance of trusting yourself. But I would do that anyway. All right, and they would just kind of validate it and said, "No, you're right to do what you do."
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, it's very unfortunate. Yeah, he was one of a number of military police that lost their lives over the course of those two wars, and I guess it's like saying your the roadmap to your life can be this long. However, that is provided you make certain decisions along the way that take you all the way to the
Yeah.
furthest point of your potential. And I think it could be that they say, but if you choose left rather than right at this point, your life ends 50 years before it potentially could. So
Yeah.
I think there is a self of determinism where where your path and your life is determined by you and your free will. And I really think that the higher self, this inner knowing, I think at some level it knows what the path is.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
think when we stick to it, we live our best life when we use intuition. And I think when we use the logical mind, I think that like closes the door on
yeah.
this higher self, and we start to deviate from the path that we're truly meant to be on.
And that really does beautifully sort of conclude it, because fate is very much like you say, the logical mind. It's what we know, what we've been told, what we
Yeah.
assume, whereas destiny is often known as the soul's path. It's
Okay.
led by the higher self, or the soul. And so yeah, it that just beautifully defines the difference.
There you go. I mean, it's yeah. I could talk about it for a lot longer, and I think we
Yeah, me
both could.
too. I love it.
Yeah, I do. So maybe we're gonna have to revisit that at some point, because I think lots of people listening or watching will kind of see that it's something that resonates with them for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So until next time, should we say adios?
Yes. Goodbye, everybody, and take care of yourselves.
Goodbye, and thank you for watching and listening. See you later.
Bye.